One or two parents would be perfect. I love to share and share why it's important to advocate and leverage their voice. Or again, people can write in the chat. I'll give some time to make sure that's being in the chat. I see some folks typing. That's great. To help keep charters accessible to students and parents. From Ms. Perry. From Ms. Andrade. Reiterate what you said. Best from us since our kids are at Noble. Okay. Ms. Plate. Teacher perspective here, but elected officials in Springfield always prefer to hear from our parent community. Agreed. Ms. Speck. Maintain funding so it does not get taken away. Yes, yes. Those are all important. Yes, as some folks have said, decisions are being made every single day that affect your child, whether you like it or not, right? Whether you're in the room or not. Decisions about funding, who gets it and how much. Decisions about facilities, where your students' school get building repairs, and decisions about freedoms. Do teachers and principals have the ability to do what they do best, which is teach? So it's super important to make sure you are able to share your opinion as a parent. Next, we'll share some examples of different ways to communicate with people who have power to make decisions, often your elected officials. How you feel about an issue in written form. What do you think the secret is to advocating? Write in the chat, please. Yes, I see some to show my son that his overall education is important to me. Yeah, that's such a huge interaction, right? Like oftentimes, this is a great way to show like no, I value your education, and this is why I'm taking that step or taking these steps to make sure that these voices are heard. And I think that again, not every parent can go to Springfield, right? People work, folks work, right? And I think that there's always an opportunity to show that, and we just want to highlight those opportunities for folks. So yeah, so what do you think the secret to advocating is? If folks want to chat, keep chatting in the chat for me. What is the secret to advocacy? Let's take a minute. I'm more uncomfortable with the silence. Communicating. Speak up in communication. Speaking up in communication. Those are extremely important, yes. Staying informed. Thank you, Ms. Perry. Thank you, Ms. Greer. Ms. Crump. Ms. Crump. Nagging till are heard. Thank you, Ms. Andrade. Knowing issues on education is decisions that are being made. Absolutely, absolutely. Give it a second. I see some folks still chatting, still typing. No, all right. We can jump forward. Yes, those are all correct. But ultimately, I think, in my opinion, it's your story. I think that is the secret to advocacy. Sharing your story. It's really simple. Each and every one of you have a unique experience, perspective, and insight that can aid in advocacy for various purposes. Sharing your story can potentially be a game changer in the way someone views a certain topic. Your story can create change, and it's very important. Oftentimes, people find it challenging to tell other people about themselves, and that's okay. Today, we're going to try an exercise that can begin to lay the foundation of concise storytelling. You may not have a great amount of time to speak with elected officials or in meetings, so it's helpful to dive into these things most important to share or most defining to your story. I apologize. So, in the chat, can you please type 3 words to describe yourself? What are 3 words that you would use to describe yourself? This is going to take a little second, so I'm more than happy to wait. No worries. We have plenty of time. What are 3 words? Come off chat if you like. I'm more than happy with that. What are 3 words that you would use to describe yourself? Ms. Green, nurturing. That's a great one. Energetic, friendly. And I can attest to that, Ms. Nieto. Nice to see you. Funny, outgoing, and great communicator, Mr. Crump, I apologize. Determined and practical, Ms. Perry. Devoted mom, educator. Thank you, Ms. Metz. Welcome, Ms. Metz. Educator, dog mom, doesn't feel like it fits here. How you doing, Ms. Cartman? It's great to see you. I give some time though, or was you have plenty of time? I want to make sure I hear everybody or read everybody. And if you are on mobile, I think you're able to chat at the bottom of your screen. There might be options to click, like a more option, and you might be able to chat in there as well. Dog mom counts, Ms. Curran. You said here from Miss Metz herself. Miss Andrade, leader, inspirational, empathetic. That's great. Miss, apologize if I butcher this. Miss Muniton. Invested, hardworking, and supportive. Miss Greer, accountable, inspiring, and mom. Miss Green, to add to her earlier in nurturing, is a quirky and a warrior. That's great. I love that. Awesome. Yeah, those are all important things, and I love the wide range and answers to that. Now, I want you guys to type 3 words to describe your noble experience. It could be a little bit more than 3 words if you want to, but try to keep it to 3 words if possible. Accountable, inspiring, and mom. Yes. That's all I want already. So, what are 3 words to describe your noble experience? Welcoming, supportive. Thank you, Ms. Smith. I'm glad that that's your experience. Ms. Perry, equality, accessible, and concern. Thank you, Ms. Perry. Inspiring. Ms. Metz, thank you. Outstanding, supportive, and unique. Community, dedication, supportive. Thank you, Ms. Karen. Accountable, equality, and accessible. Thank you, Mr. Crump. Ms. Crump. I apologize. Ms. Minton, supportive, empathetic, and dedicated. Yeah, like I see a lot of similarities in both these answers, right? I see accountable, I see mom, I see hardworking, supportive, and how you guys describe yourself, and I see dedication, I see supportive, I see it's Miss Crump. Thank you. What are Mr. Ocampo? What are your words, knowing you're an alum and now leading such important work at Noble? Ooh, putting me on the spot. That's great, Miss. Thank you for that. Yeah, I would say 3 words to describe Noble. My Noble experience is pivotal, inspirational, at least in terms of just like allowing me to kind of direct my path in life in terms of my career. And then the third one would be home. Like this is for those of you who don't know, I didn't really introduce myself, but I'm an alum. I'm a Pritzker alum. I've been with Noble now, working as the community organizer for 5 years at this point, 6 years. I graduated 2014 and jumped into the role in August. So yeah, about 6 years, 5 years, 6 years. If my math is correct. Plus the 4 years in Noble. So I guess I'm coming on a decade at Noble, which dates me a little bit. But yeah, it's those 3 words have really kind of changed and kind of set me on a path. And I see here education, dream weavers, extended family, great staff, empowered and student centered. Thank you. Yes, keep adding it. Keep adding it. So yeah, no matter how you're advocating. So those are great words, and I think those are great things to use when talking to elected officials on such a short amount of time in person, and including that story whenever possible. And I think that's a luxury that you can have when you're writing. I think it's such a great use of a tool, right? Your story to leverage your voice and to make sure that these elected officials are hearing it. So no matter how you are advocating, storytelling is the biggest piece of advocacy. Your voice matters at the end of the day. Storytelling is simply defined as the activity of telling or writing stories. What I want to focus on today is the power in that activity. You are your child's biggest advocates, and your advantage point is heavily weighed in the creation and installation of policies that impact school systems everywhere. Here are a few questions that you can ask yourselves that help to craft your story. What is your noble story, right? How have you engaged with the school community? How has your experience with Noble positively impacted your family? What should people know? And feel free, I would love to keep answering these questions. Feel free to answer these. I love to hear that. And um, later on, we'll have an opportunity for you to sign in the survey to reach out to your organizer, right? Because it's important. We love to talk with families. That's our main job, right? Connecting with families and connecting families with resources and opportunities such as advocating and leveraging. At the end of our breakout room, we'll talk about our lunch and learns, which are opportunities to sharpen your tool, this tool in your advocacy toolbox. In general, when there's an opportunity to share your story at Noble, our team will reach out to you. However, you may also need to share your story in other areas of your life, work, in your neighborhood, at your child's school, and other places. So take a minute. I'm going to give you another minute to think about these questions, even as you write them down. At the end of that minute, I will ask if somebody would like to answer one of these questions. And I see some folks chatting already in the box, but I will want to ask one of these questions. Who would like to share? We'll get to that in a bit, but yeah. So take a minute, think about this question. Feel free to chat it or just think, and then I can call on somebody, or if somebody wants to raise their hand. And I would love for somebody to share one of these questions. Miss Andrade, would you like to share one of these questions?
So yeah, one of the reasons why I initially chose to send my son to a Noble school was because we live in Pilsen, and so our district high school would have been Juarez. So one of the things that I feared a lot was gangs.
Yeah.
And that was one of the most reasons. That's why I put on their safety. Like, it provided more of a safe environment for my son.
Yeah, no, but we prioritize that. We want to make sure that your student is safe and that you feel confident sending that student to us. And that's an important thing to at least when you're relaying that story, to just say, like, I felt confident in them keeping my students safe. And we work hard. Our I don't know, you probably didn't notice, but our chief of operations, Mike Madden, he likes to be in the shadows often. He was in that room, and he's very I know that that's something that is key and high on his list of importance. So thank you, Ms. Glider, for sharing that. I believe it's Miss Greer who raised her hand. Were you interested in coming off mute? I saw that you gave a thumbs up. If you don't want to, no worries.
Yeah, no, I did. I would say, like, how has my experience with Noble positively impacted my family? We started Noble back when my son was in 6th grade. We went to KIPP. So one thing about Noble I learned from elementary is that you guys stress college. When my son started KIPP, he was class of 2022. He's a junior at Royal Clark now. And that was something that we were strategizing, like, how are we going to, get him to want to go to college? I went, but not everyone in my family went. And since 6th grade, it started, they were going to colleges. 7th grade, they were going to colleges. 8th grade. So now he has like a whole list. And even like his first cousins, he was telling them about, they go to regular CPS schools, and the attention on college didn't start until like their sophomore, junior year. So that his whole experience with Noble like has opened up like our whole family, extended family. Like, how do I get in there? Like, he's so excited. He has a list going crazy, and I didn't even have to do anything.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's such an important thing. That's something that I was actually talking to with my partner, who's also a Noble alum, of just that impact of the ability to visit a campus and just like seeing that really transformed, or like was a very pivotal moment for me specifically. Like the school that I was able to go to in my for my 4 years of undergrad was a school that I visited, and I at first I didn't like it, or when I first visited, and to be completely transparent, I felt like, oh, this might not be the school for me, but that ability to go and visit was ultimately that deciding factor for me of like, maybe that was just the one time that I felt weird at. Maybe it changes for me. And it did. I loved my 4 years of college. I absolutely adored them. And I met some of the best people, some of my best friends today when I went to college, and was able to go abroad because of that. And being a kid from Chicago who had never left the city up until then was a very important thing to be able to go to Hong Kong eventually, right? But it was because of those opportunities to like really take that step forward. So I thank you both for sharing that story. I see some folks wrote, I found Noble because of the dreaded selective enrollment school process. It was, yeah, that was one of those things for me as well. Like I had just missed that cutoff, right? But that cutoff didn't, like, that allowed me to go to a Noble school. And just because I didn't go to a selective enrollment school, I went to a top 50 school, right? That in the country. That test doesn't indicate where you're gonna go. Ultimately, is how I saw that. Miss Crump, I love the challenge Noble's giving my daughter. That's awesome. Yeah, that's an important thing to the high expectations that we have, because we know the potential in your students, right? We want to push that. We want to make sure that they're not, first of all, taken care of, but also that they're challenged, that they're pushing themselves beyond what folks think they can cap at. Miss Metz, thank you. Yes, so she put her email in there. You feel free to reach out directly to her. As she mentioned, we prioritize the physical, emotional, and mental safety of our students. If at any time you feel we are falling short of that, please reach out. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to Miss Metz. You can reach out to any of the organizers. This is something that we do full time. We love hearing voices and we love talking with parents. Miss Green, my Noble experience was good. My daughter transferred over from a military academy. Mr. Brown and Mrs. Baker welcomed her her in with all her baggage and have given her the right tools and resources to flourish sophomore to now to senior year. That's beautiful. Like that's great, and that's something that doesn't go that shouldn't go unsaid. Those are all experiences, and those are all reasons to tell and to let elected officials know as to why you chose. Sometimes the narrative out there was, well, they're stealing our students. No, parents chose our schools for a reason. You chose a Noble for a lot of those reasons that you shared today, and our hope is that our elected officials can hear that and can say, okay, well, I have constituents who find these schools safe, who find that these schools are supporting their students, so I can't turn my back to these people, right? And that's our purpose, right? That's where we keep hoping and pushing for that. So thank you, Ms. Muntz. Our experience with Noble has been wonderful. My boys, 2 Mission alum and 1 currently at Noble, has opened opportunities for the entire family. I know my kids will be able to support themselves in the future. Yeah, that's exactly what we're hoping and aiming for. So thank you all for sharing your stories, and feel free to keep using the reactions. I know that there's some faces on there. We want to share the love and we want to keep sharing. So feel free to keep doing that. Ms. Andrade, yes, I agree. That was another one of my reasons. Next best option, since selective enrollment wasn't an option. Yeah, it's true, and there are a lot of systematic issues involved with education, and some of that is just the opportunity that students can get, and some what schools are students allowed to or not allowed to go to. So we want to make sure that we can level that playing field as best as we can. So we're gonna trudge forward as I want to make sure we get through all our slides. So, but feel free to keep sharing. I'll keep popping into the chat, and I love the reactions. So keep sending them over. So the first step is always knowing your story. Oh, we're going to do more detailed descriptions of what written advocacy and storytelling could possibly look like. Keep in mind that this list is not exhaustive, but most common. So the first one, texting. Second one, letter to the editor or op-eds. Third, witness slips. That's important for like legislature. Social media. These are powerful tools. These phones are powerful tools. Our social media are powerful tools. Letters of support and email. So let's jump into the first one. Texting is how we communicate most of the time, at least for me. It is. I still love calling people randomly. I feel the panic on the other side because they're not used to it, but I still like doing it sometimes. But it's quick and simple. Texting is. So please use the reaction button if you prefer texting. I know some parents who I don't call. I just shoot them a text and that they'll respond within 5 minutes. And I love it. I'll get their voicemail if I call them, but I'm sure that they're calling it's often because they're either working, making dinner, tending to things at home. So I don't taking a whole phone conversation doesn't have to be as bad. I like the shock of a comment. Very same here. I'm like, oh, I wasn't ready. But you can sign up and subscribe to alerts from organizations you support. One that we have is Elevate Chicago, for example. We'll send you alerts and action steps to take, like signing a petition or sending an email. When there are important policies that impact charter schools, they'll send something out and say, hey, we need action. Can you let your senator know? All you have to do is press 1 and then sign your name. Those are very important. They can prepare to respond to a text with a call. It's the call. Yeah, it's on the spot. You're like, oh, hello, how are you doing? Similarly, at ACLU, you can add your name and number to their database, and ACLU will text you about important updates and action steps for you to take from your phone. The best part is you can opt out of texts, like the text updates, and of if they become too much. Like if you were like, oh, these people are sending me a text every day, I can't handle this sometimes. You can opt out. Sometimes it's just like a quick text stop to this number. In the future, we'll be hosting texting banks where parents can text other parents with steps to advocate for Noble students. So keep a lookout if you're interested in that. And the Elevate Chicago will be able to share as well when we send out an email in the next couple of days, just to follow up. All right. With news outlets, what news outlets do you guys follow and read? For me, I read the New York Times. I sometimes read the Chicago sometimes, not as often. I'm a big Atlantic fan. That's one that I watch. I don't have cable. It's not something that I've had since I've left my mom's house, but I will read articles constantly. Block Club. That's a really important one for local news. Yes. The Herald. Oh, that's a new one. I know that I've heard that one, but that's not one that I've visited often. Anybody else? WBEZ, yeah, when you're driving or just cooking at home, I'll put WBEZ on constantly. Like everything in today's day and age, the way the folks get their news is often digital. NPR, thank you. Yes, we still have printed press, but more and more newspapers are moving to online platforms. With the move to online platforms, newspapers now have even further reach to share their stories, which is why it's so important for your voice to be heard and pretty easy to submit letters to the editor. We have national newspapers like the Sun-Times and the Tribune, but often we have news that is being told being told on what's going on locally in Chicago, like Block Club, Southside Weekly is one, and Austin Weekly, just to name a few. At Noble, we've learned that if you don't tell your story, people will tell it for you. We have a communications team to help continue to push our stories, but you have the power to go online and respond to an article directly. As you can see on my screen, the Austin Weekly News has a place on their website where you can submit your letter to the editor. A lot of places will have certain constraints like word count, but that's a perfect way to be like, hey, I actually don't agree with this article. I feel like you're not telling both sides of the story properly. A letter to the editor is a great way to let that be known. And you can do that all online. You can do it all online often and on their websites. Another avenue for advocacy is an op-ed. An op-ed, short for opposite editorial, is an opinionated article submitted to a newspaper for publication. They are written by members of the community, not newspaper employees. It may be a retiree writing about Social Security, or a politician writing about retirement policy, or a parent writing about an education policy. Op-eds can be about many things, as they give publications an opportunity to share a variety of opinions about a variety of topics. Op-eds are usually less than 750 words and can be submitted to any major newspaper. An op-ed is an opportunity to present and defend your opinion. And as a parent of students, your opinion is valuable. I'm going to say that multiple times. For those of you who are familiar, what power do you think an op-ed has? Please share in the chat or come off mute. Does anyone follow any op-eds by any chance? Or always thinking of one? I have one on here of an example. The Noble Charter Schools offers Southside children a choice. We had I forget the actual publication, but they were talking about how Noble's opening another school and taking students away. But someone wrote an op-ed to that newspaper and saying like, no, like on the Southwest side, we need these schools. There's an opportunity. There's a lot of our schools are over cramped. There's an opportunity to and there's an interest. And that was very pivotal in being able to change the opinion of the editor. As you can see, then they went back and the Noble Charter Schools offer at Southwest Side children a choice. So it was super important in that in parent voice to get folks to change opinion or to write an editorial. I mentioned witness slips, right? Witness slips usually happen while the legislature is in session. Our director of community and government affairs works with our Springfield lobbying team to make sure we're aware of which proposed laws are coming up that can either affect us or positively or negatively impact us. Once there is a law that has been identified, there will be a chance to either support it or oppose it via witness slip. A witness slip is a great way for lawmakers to see where the community stands on an issue. And more importantly, you can have a huge impact on the way a lawmaker votes because you file it electronically. It only takes 2 minutes, and you never have to visit the Capitol to make your voice heard. So it's very convenient. If there was a movement where we needed parents' support to overwhelm lawmakers with witness slips, you would be hearing from our team in hopes that you can submit a witness slip. And it's tough to see on there, but like there's a couple moments where there's an opposition bill that we wanted, or there was a support of a bill that we wanted, and we had some folks who opposed us, and you can see that this is what lawmakers see: who oppose and who support. And this was, I think, I forgot actually what this bill is, and the writing's a little tough for me, so I apologize for that. So, and let's continue and talk about a way that folks are probably more used to, and that's social media. To get a feel for the room, if you use social media, what social media outlet do you use? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok? I don't know TikTok's a new one, but folks are using it. I'm personally someone who's on Twitter often. I'm not on Facebook as often. That's more for like family and keeping up with them, making sure that everyone's fine on that end. But I'm personally a Twitter user. Twitter, Miss Perry. All right, Miss Perry. So find you on Twitter. IG, Miss Greer, and Twitter. Yeah, so social media is a great tool to reach out to share and leverage your voice. We talked about power, people in power. Social media gives you a direct line to those people. Most elected officials are on Twitter or Facebook, and most manage these pages themselves. Some tips for you when engaging with elected officials: use images when possible. Be you and tell your story. Elevate each other's stories and always retweet if you can. If you see something that you're like, oh, like I understand that, retweet that, share that. We'll be providing those Twitter handles. So I mentioned that elected officials are on that, and all our elected officials that our schools are in and that you are in have a Twitter account, have a Facebook page. We'll share those a copy of that in our follow-up email either tomorrow or Friday. As a friendly reminder to always mention at Be Noble Advocacy, we have our own Twitter, we have our own Facebook page, so we can retweet and help you grow your follower base. Make sure to follow us on social media that we can keep up with what's happening at our schools as well. Let us support have helped send out a unified message to elected officials. It's another way to support. A letter of support or an email of support is usually a pre-written letter that you can add your signature to in order to advocate for something. We've had many campaigns that have ranged from opening up a school to helping with traffic in front of a school. We usually provide a template. You can sign the letter and give it to someone on our team. We drop this off to the elected official's office, a board member, whoever is in power. They'll get this letter. You can obviously draft up your own version, and that would work too. I've had parents like, oh, can I take this and use this to write my own and send it to you, and I'll give it to you next time. I'm like, yeah, do that. I'm more than happy to do that. Having direct email of elected official officers or board members can allow you to send an email to make sure your support of a specific project is heard. Here's an example that I want you to imagine. So imagine you're an elected official and 100 letters of support come into your office, asking to make sure that they support your school with, let's say, improvements to the building. What would your reactions be if you were an elected official, right? Like you'd be like, oh, okay, like there's 100 people writing to me right now, all at once, or over a course of days. Maybe I should revisit this, or maybe I should reach out and see who it is. There's sometimes places where you can put your phone number and email for the elected official to reach out to you. A perfect example is something I was working on right before the pandemic hit in March. I was working on helping the Golder parking situation by having parents sign on a letter of support asking the alderman to work with the school on the neighborhood parking because they wanted to switch to street parking to 24-hour residential. But a lot of our teachers and students travel to Golder from all over the city, and parking would be very tough. We were advocating to the alderman to change it to certain hours to free up the spaces during the workday for our teachers and and then having those spaces in the evening for the neighbors, because we don't want to take the parking. We understand parking